NFL Talk with Elite Wages.
Yo, what's happening everyone? Welcome back to another episode of NFL Talk of Elite Wages. I want to start off with a quick apology for the delay in this one. It was meant to be out Friday, had to be delayed till Saturday, had some stuff going on. Stressful week for me, so a little bit of a delay, so apologies for that. But as always, all my write-ups and things like that, all my plays will be broken down. An extra day. I had an extra day to sort of sort myself out and get everything back into tip-top shape. So we'll get straight into this one. Small card this week, as I said, stressful week. So didn't have much time to sort of put into this week, but I've picked some plays. Very, very confident in these plays this week. 6 weeks in profit in a row, totaling over 15 units in total. So we've got to continue that, looking to add to that again this week for NFL week 12 now, week 12. So let's get into the first play. I said in my breakdown episode earlier in the week, I think it was Wednesday, I said if the Lions team total is going to be around 30 again, I'm taking it. So it was set at 29.5 this week. So, your boy's taking it. So I'm going to start the week off on a back-to-back play. I said I'll take this market again, and here I am. So for this game, I'm going to target the Lions team total over 29.5. So I got this 1 point shorter than I did last week. But this, once again, is a fairly self-explanatory bet. The Lions are the best offense in football, and it's simple as that. That's not just my opinion, but statistically as well, they rank as the highest scoring team in points per game on average, averaging 33 points per game now. This season so far, the Lions have scored the most points in a game. They have scored the most points in a game 3 times. They've scored in what was at the time a season high for 47. I think the Cardinals broke that and they got 51, and then they beat that again with 52. And they've actually hit 52 twice, and it's actually been 2 times in the last 4 weeks they've hit 52 points. Their run game, as always, has been incredibly productive. They average a top 3 152 rushing yards per game. They add an average of 242 through the air as well, which is the 6th most in the passing game. So for total yardage, they sit in 3rd, averaging just shy of 400 yards per game. So the Lions offense was rolling last week. They totaled 645 yards on offense, obviously 52 points, and they scored 7 total touchdowns as well. So momentum is well and truly on their side, as they are now 7-point favourites in this game against the Colts. The Colts last week actually pulled off a well-needed win against the Jets last week. I was actually on the Colts for the money line last week and the spread, so we had a double dip on those last week and that cashed. But again, interestingly, the Colts have only allowed 2 teams this season to have 30 or more points. So one of those was being the team that the Lions demolished last week in the Jaguars. The Colts are actually ranking in the bottom half of the league for points per game allowed. They average 22.7. The Colts have been prone to letting teams move the ball, down the field on them pretty much whenever they want at will. They allowed the 5th most total yardage per game, averaging 374 yards per game. Again, like I said, including they are very prone to getting ran all over, which is something the Lions are very, very good at. The Colts allow the 5th most rushing yards to opponents, which is a good thing for the Lions. Like I said, that's their forte. That's what they're good at. The 3rd best rushing team in the league. And again, that's a bad thing for the Colts. Although the Colts haven't actually allowed many teams to score 30 points this season, the Lions will want to improve and sort of solidify their status as being Super Bowl favourites. And what better way to do that than to beat another opponent by 30 or more points scored. The Lions are obviously the better team in this game. The Colts have struggled, in a lot of areas of the field, mainly to stop teams moving from getting downfield. So like I said, fairly self-explanatory. Top offense against a mediocre defense. This Lions team is rolling, so we're going to go 1 unit Lions team total over 29.5 at odds of 1.95. So it's quite interesting that we got this a point shy of last week, and we're getting similar odds. So we've got nice odds, 1.95, and we're going to cash this one this week. I can feel it. Next game on my card is actually going to have a double play. It's not going to be a double play. Sorry, that's the next game. This is the first play for me for the Bucs in a long time. And I'm going to be favouring the Bucs offense. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they got off to a really, really good start. They went 4-2 in the first 6 games. In those 6 games, they scored 37, 27, 30, 33 and 51 points. So since then, they've actually suffered 4 straight losses in a row. But they have still been able to score points. They've scored 31, 26, 24 and 20 in the most recent 4. The consistent theme for the Bucs is they've been able to score 20 or more in all but one game so far this season. The Bucs offense is a top 5 ranked offense in terms of points per game on average. They average just a slight bit over 27 points per game. The Bucs team total line has been set at 23.5. So again, I'm going to target another team total on another high powered offense. The Bucs have actually surpassed this line of 23.5 in 7 of their 10 games to date, including 6 of their last 7 games. One thing that makes this more impressive to me is the opponent quality that they've had to face. So their last 4 losses, they've come against probable playoff teams, and obviously they were also without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin for those as well, and they still managed to average 25 points per game in those 4 losses. So they'll now get Mike Evans back. He is expected to be back in this game, and they'll now face a weaker opposition in the New York Giants. So the New York Giants now, they've obviously made a quarterback change. Dan Jones has been waived. He's been released. He's passing through waivers, and now they look to DeVito. So the 2-8 team, like I said, moved on from Dan Jones after they suffered 5 straight losses. The Giants defense has played relatively well this season, actually, and they're probably their upside in this team is their defense. They do allow an average of 22 points per game, but they've allowed 3 of the last 4 opponents to score 24 or more points, which suggests teams have sort of figured out the Giants defense, and they're on a little bit of a regression. The Giants have faced some top 10 offenses this season, and they've allowed 3 of those 4 teams to hit 24 or more points. I think they were the Commanders twice, a few Vikings as well, a few others, but they've sort of, those top 10 offenses, they've allowed them to score points at will. This is an ideal spot for Tampa Bay to go ahead, put their losing streak behind them with a solid win against the team that looks lost. With the return of Mike Evans as well, I expect the Bucs to be able to stay stat pad against the Giants and sort of cruise to a victory, and keep this, end this losing streak that they're on, get back into form, get back point scoring as well, which is what they've consistently been able to do. So yeah, I'm going to go with another team total. I'm going to go Bucs team total over 23.5, odds of 1.87. So let's move on to another divisional game this week, and it's going to be the Seahawks taking on the Cardinals. So I've actually got 2 plays in this one. This is the play where I've got 2 plays. So the first one I'm going to roll with, I'll explain now, that the Cardinals, they've been rolling. They've won 4 straight games by a combined 48 points. Arizona's only loss this season have come against, the only losses this season have come against the Bills, Lions, Commanders, and the Packers. Those 4 they're obviously likely playoff teams. But I'm going to be focusing on the defense defense over their offense a little bit. The Cardinals are allowing the 12th least points per game, and they're in the bottom half of the league against the pass. But more recently, the Cardinals' red zone defense ranks as the 4th best in the NFL over the past 3 games. Arizona ranks 12th overall in defensive DVOA according to FTN Fantasy as well. In addition, in the last 3 games, their pass defense has gone from bottom 12 to top 3 in passing yards allowed. So they've actually tightened things up a lot in the last 3 games. The Cardinals haven't sort of been interception machines this year, but they do have a total of 5 interceptions from 4 different quarterbacks this year. Brock Purdy threw 2. Now they'll face an offense led by Geno Smith, who throws the ball 64% of the time. Geno Smith, he's thrown the ball more than any other quarterback in the NFL. He's got 37.4 attempts per game. And, obviously putting the ball up in the air that much has resulted in a lot of interceptions. He's actually thrown 11 interceptions in 10 games this season. He's thrown picks in 7 of his last 10 contests so far. Geno and the Seahawks fought out a tough win last week against the 49ers. A game in which Geno threw the ball 32 times and he was picked off. While that was going on, the Cardinals had a bye week and a well-deserved rest to prepare for this divisional game. So this was a short and sweet one, really. Double play. I'm going to go for a unit on both. We're going to go a unit on the Cardinals money line. I just think their offense is rolling at the moment. Obviously, like I said, they've won the last 4 games by a combined 48 points. Their only losses have come against potential playoff teams. So I believe that their offense is looking very, very solid this year. Defense is tightening up as well in the last 3 games, like I mentioned. I'm going to go with the Cardinals money line, and I'm going to go for a Geno Smith interception as well. And obviously I just explained it there. Geno's thrown 11 in his last 10 games, and he's thrown 7 in his 10 games this year, including one last week. I'm going to back the Cardinals offense to steamroll the Seahawks, and the defense to pick off Geno. Simple as that, really, for those two. So we're going to move on to the next one. So this is actually a market I'm coming back to. If you're a regular here, you'll understand this market from me. I've mentioned it a few times. I played it on a bad week. I do have to admit, I played it in the game. It's on the Texans. I actually played it on them when they played the Vikings in week 3. They got demolished 34-7, I think it was. So ultimately, I got hammered in that play. But I'm going to go back this time. I think this is an ideal spot for it. So, like I said, I tried this market a few weeks back and it failed epically. The Texans played a really, really poor game. They scored 7 points against the Vikings. Since then, however, they have improved and they have kept scoring consistently. They've scored 20 or more in 7 of the last 8 games. A consistent form of scoring for the Texans so far this year has been with their elite kicker, Fairbairn. He's been extremely good this year. He's the second most kicker points in the league. He totals 102, which averages around 9 kicker points per game. Fairbairn has now he's kicked 2 or more field goals in 7 straight games, and he's actually kicked 2 or more in 9 of 11 in total this year. He's also attempted 3 or more field goals in 6 of his last 7 games as well. So the Texans have been able to get him into range fairly often. Despite the Texans being a well-oiled machine, they sort of tend to use the run and the pass game pretty similarly. So they do tend to struggle somewhat on third down. They convert only 38%. They do tend to stall inside the red zone as well, as they average 3.5 red zone attempts and convert 55% of those into touchdowns. So just over 55% on their red zone attempts, which means they obviously get field goal opportunities as well. So the field goal opportunities in this game will definitely be there. As for their opponents, the Titans, they have been poor all season. Prior to the season, I was actually really high on this team. With the acquisitions that they added in the off season, especially on defense, I was really high on their defense. And to be honest, the defense has only played this poor because of their offense has been poor. It's put them in really, really tough and awkward situations. So the Titans allow the 7th most points per game, but they have been able to limit opponents to the 2nd least amount of yards. So like I said, their defense has been quite good, but their offense has put them in really tricky situations, and that obviously shows with the 7th most points per game, but the 2nd least amount of total yards, and it's only 278 as well. So it's very, very tight ship over there. They allow an average of 3 red zone scoring opportunities to their opponents, and they do allow a touchdown on 75% of tries. But that stat's inflated due to their offense putting their defensive unit in those awkward positions, picks from Will Levis and fumbles and stuff like that. So the Titans actually allow the 2nd least third down conversions at 32%, and that obviously could be a key attribute in this game, getting the Texans to stall on a touchdown drive, allowing them to kick field goals. The Titans allow an average of 1.8 field goals to their opponent. They haven't actually allowed 2 or more field goals on a regular occurrence this season, but with this being a divisional game, I can definitely see having a lot more fight a lot more determination to stop Houston from getting into the end zone. And obviously, hopefully, that'll give us opportunities to kick field goals instead. So I'm going to go back to this one early in the year, and I'm coming back now. So we're going to go 1 unit on Fairbairn over 1.5 field goals at odds of 1.71.
Sunday Night Football.
So we're heading over to Sunday Night Football. So for this card, obviously, I said it was a short card. There wasn't a lot of time that I had to put into these this week, but I was trying to get sort of a good range of plays. So I tried to get a few team plays, a few player props as well, and I tried to get something for Sunday and Monday Night Football games as well. So I actually managed to find one I really like in the Sunday Night Football game. So Sunday Night Football this week takes us to SoFi Stadium, and the LA Rams will host the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I'm going to keep this one relatively short. I'm basically backing an offense who's been depleted for the most part. They are now nearly back to full strength. And I say nearly because Devonta Smith was supposed to play in this game. He's now been ruled out. But they do have A.J. Brown back. They've got Saquon Barkley healthy. They've got a lot of their key parts that are back. So they are nearly back to full strength. And they're actually going to face a team that is ranked in the bottom half of the league against the run and the pass. So the Rams defense allow the 10th most points per game on average, allowing 23.9, and they allowed the 9th most touchdowns per game. As well as that, they're also bottom 10 for total yardage allowed, which is averaging around 350. I managed to snag the Eagles team total line at 25.5, which is a little bit lower than I would have expected, to be honest. I've seen it at 27.5 on some books. I know 365 has it at 28.5 at plus money, but I've managed to get it at 25.5. And that's actually a number the Rams have gave up only twice this season. But they were the first 2 weeks of the season as well, so they haven't done it in a long time. But they have, however, consistently been able to average teams 20 plus points, allowing 20 or more points to their opponents in 9 of the last 10 games. So they're now going to face a team who potentially has one of the best offenses in the league. When healthy, when in full strength, they obviously are a top 5 offense. The Eagles' numbers have been deflated due to injuries this year. Obviously, they had A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith out for a little period as well. They've had obviously tough battles because of this. Struggled against the New Orleans Saints, where they only put up 15 points, basically down to a few rushing touchdowns from Saquon Barkley, but they struggled to move the ball a lot. But I believe this is the time that the Eagles can sort of spread their wings and show the league what they are capable of. So in in all 5 of the last games, the Eagles have hit their team total line of 25.5 in all 5. They actually averaged 30 points per game in those 5 games. So the Eagles are a top 5 offense in terms of total yardage, which includes being a top rushing team, being the top rushing team in the NFL, led by Saquon Barkley. As I mentioned, this is more of a backing of the Eagles offense now that they're nearly full strength and they're in that sort of stride where they're scoring points on opponents. And it's also a fade of a defense that is definitely due, a bit of regression. They've managed to be fairly tight, they've allowed 20 points to most of their opponents, but they haven't allowed 26 or more. So I feel like this is a game for a little bit of regression. They're going to be facing a tough offense. And obviously, in addition to this as well, the Rams have only played 1 offense inside the top 10 in the last 5 games. So obviously now they'll face a top 5 offense, and I'm going to say they're red hot. So I'm going to back the red hot offense of the Eagles in this game. So we're going to go 1 unit Philadelphia Eagles, team total over 25.5 at odds of 1.87.
Monday Night Football.
So we're going to finish off this week's episode and this week's betting card on Monday Night Football. And this one is, I'm not going to lie, this is probably the most exciting game of the weekend for me, just because of, what the implications are. Not even for playoff hopes and things like that. They're both looking very, very good for playoff hopes. But it's the battle of the brothers. You got Jim and John Harbaugh. They'll face off on Monday Night Football this week. Jim's Chargers. They've been really, really good this season. And in all honesty, I wasn't expecting this. In my opinion, I wasn't expecting them to make the playoffs. I actually have a future on it. They've actually played really, really well. And being a Michigan fan as well, I know somewhat about Jim Harbaugh, what he can do, what he's capable of doing, what he likes to implement, sort of his style. And I didn't actually think he'll be able to implement his style into this team straight away. I thought there's going to be a bit of growing pains and things like that. But the Chargers, they're 7-3 to start the year. They're challenging the Chiefs for the top spot in the AFC West. And the Ravens, led by John Harbaugh, slightly behind the Chargers. They sit at 7-4. They're also in second place in their division, and they're chasing the Steelers for top spot in the AFC North. So for my bet in this game, I'm actually going to do a same game parlay, and I'm going to juice some lines up. So the Chargers have actually won 4 straight, and they haven't lost by 10 points or more in any game this season. They've been extremely competitive. They've scored 20 or more in 7 of their 10 games, with their most recent 4 wins scoring 26 or more in all 4, which is a 28.5 average. The defense has been reasonably solid this year too. They averaged the second lowest, or they averaged the lowest actually, 14.5 points per game allowed to opponents. On the Ravens side of the ball, they allow teams to cover a plus 10 handicap in 9 of 11 games this season so far. Obviously, it's common knowledge now that they're one of the hottest offenses in the league. They're actually ranked in second now, just got overtaken by the Lions. They've shown that on numerous occasions that they are top dogs. They've actually scored 20 or more points in 9 of 11 games this year. They are averaging 30.4 on the season in points per game. Their defense, it's been mediocre. They rank in the bottom 10 for points allowed. They average 24 points allowed to opponents. So in this one, I'm going to juice the game total down to 42.5. That's going to be my option in this game. Both teams' points per game average totals higher than this number. Both teams allow higher than this number as well. I think both teams will go head-to-head on offense. And, we're going to call this the Harbaugh Bowl. So in addition to that, 10 of the 11 Ravens game have gone over 43 points. So while the Chargers haven't exceeded this number too often, I believe they can keep this game fairly close, and definitely sort of within 10 points. So I'm going to add to the 42.5. I'm going to add a plus 10 handicap to the Chargers. Like I said, they've not lost yet by 10 points all season. They've kept it within 10 points, and the Ravens have only won by more than 10 points just twice on the year. So like I said, I believe this game can be fairly close, definitely within 10 points, and I think they're going to go toe-to-toe, head-to-head on offense, and I think both teams are going to be able to score on each other. So my play for this one is going to be a 1.5 units. We're going to 1.5 units, same game parlay, Chargers plus 10, and the game total over 42.5 at odds of 1.66. So that 1.5 unit will return 1 unit. So that is actually the end of this episode today. So it's a nice and short one. I managed to get all my plays crammed in, and I believe I've picked some winning plays to continue the profit and continue the winning weeks that we've had. I'll do a quick little rundown of all the plays that I've actually suggested in this one. So we're going to start at the top. So we've got the Lions. That's the team total over 29.5 at odds of 1.95. We've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team total over 23.5 at odds of 1.87. We've got a double play in the Cardinals game. So we're going to go Cardinals money line at odds of 1.9. That's a pick 'em. And we're going to go 1 unit on a Geno Smith interception at odds of 1.9 as well. We've got Fairbairn over 1.5 field goals at odds of 1.71. Sunday Night Football, we've got the Eagles team total over 25.5 at odds of 1.87. And then to finish off on Monday Night Football, we've got that parlay that I just mentioned, 1.5 unit play, Chargers plus 10, over 42.5 at odds of 1.66. So that's me wrapped up for this one. Appreciate everyone for coming, everyone for listening. As always, if you could head on over to all my socials, all my streaming platforms, things like that, drop me a like, drop me a follow, subscribe. It's all free. It would help me a great deal to boost numbers, so I can get myself further out there to help more people win a little bit of money. And yeah, that's basically it for me this week. I'll be back on Tuesday or Wednesday next week, depending on how the Thursday Night Football game goes. Oh yeah, so I'll be back next week on a recap for this week and next week's Thursday Night Football. So appreciate you all, and good luck with all your bets. Catch you later.